But I do want to ask you specifically, there's a lot made of sort of the comparison between the United States and the regulatory environment and what exists in Europe. What specifically, and I'll open this up to you, what specifically has gone wrong in Europe that we can draw some conclusions from?
First of all, we'd love to figure out how to invest more in St. Louis. I'd love an excuse to get to go home more often. I'll point out one example that I think is just very painful to users. When we launch a new feature or a major new model, we have what is now considered a little bit of like an in-joke, where we say we have this great new thing, not available in the EU and a handful of other countries, because they have this long process before a model can go out. And there will be, I believe, great models and services that are quite safe and robust that we will be unable to offer in other regulatory regimes. And if you are trying to be competitive in this new world, and if you are consistently some number of months behind what other people in other countries get access to, that's an example that's extremely painful to users.
And you mentioned sort of your observation that the AI stack may get more vertically integrated. So how does that work then? Because right now, the best estimates, I suppose, right, is that, I don't know, China's 2 months to 6 months behind, maybe on large language models. Hopefully some of the advances we're seeing in the US, maybe there's a degree of separation. It's hard to know exactly right with DeepSeek, but then you get down to the chips, and that advantage is more like a couple of years, probably, something like that. So if that's where we're headed, does that increase the US's advantage in your view? Or does that sort of allow China to catch up quicker as we get more vertically integrated?
I think there's a lot of things that can increase US leadership, but we touched on this earlier. I think it's so important. There will be great chips made around the world. There will be great models trained around the world. If the United States companies can win on products and the sort of all of the positive feedback loops that come from how you can improve this once real users are using your products in their daily lives for their hardest tasks, that is something special that is not so easy to catch up with just by doing good chips and good models. So making sure that the US can win at the product level here, obviously, I'm like talking my book a little bit, but I really do believe it, is quite important. And that's in addition to all of the chips algorithm, or the infrastructure, algorithms, and data. I think this is a new area where the US is really winning and has a very strong compounding effect.
And I'm a big believer in evidence-based technical standards. I've been accused of being the only real scientist who's published peer-reviewed papers in the Senate. So, Mr. Altman, do you believe that under appropriate circumstances, independent evaluations based on standards performed by qualified evaluators and done voluntarily could help validate the testing that you're performing internally and in conjunction with peer companies?
Thank you, Senator, and I think it's awesome that you have published peer-reviewed papers, and would love to see more of that.
Well, wait a second. I was on the Maslow's triangle of science. I was near the bottom. I was a geologist, so that's not high up in that.
Geology is great. Yes, I think what you say is very important. It's an important part of our process today. External testing helps us find things that we may have missed internally, and we're very proud of our safety record on the whole. Not that we've not been perfect, and we're continuing to learn new things, but I think we do have a process that is leading towards models that the public generally thinks are safe and robust to use. And we've developed a lot of techniques to be able to continue to deliver that, but external testers and red teamers are a critical part of that process, and I think they've helped us find many things in the models to improve.
Let me start with you, if I would. I think Utah would aspire to lead out with data centers and advanced technologies. Could you just address for states and Utah specifically what it is that makes them attractive to projects like Stargate?
Yeah, and I know that we're having productive discussions about some potential sites in Utah. Power, cooling, fast permitting process, labor force that can build these things, the electricians, the construction workers, the entire stack. A state that wants to partner with us to move quickly. Texas really has been unbelievable on this. I think that would be a good thing for other states to study, but we'd be excited to try to figure something out.
Thank you. I think I could speak for our state leaders. We would be excited as well. But as you know, this also brings challenges, and one of those challenges are the demands for energy. And what's your thoughts on how we protect ratepayers and kind of put a little bit of a firewall between them?
I mean, I think the best way is just much more supply, more generation. You know, like I think if you make it easy to reasonably profitably create a lot of additional generative capacity, the market will do that. That will not only not drive up rates because of the AI workload, hopefully it'll drive it down for everything. And we've talked a lot about the importance of energy to AI. Energy is just really important to quality of life. One of the things that seems to me the most consistent throughout history is every time the cost of energy falls, the quality of life goes up. So doing a lot to make energy cheaper, in the short term, I think this probably looks like more natural gas, although there are some applications where I think solar can really help. In the medium term, I hope it's advanced nuclear, fission and fusion. More energy is important well beyond AI. You know, in some sense, we have these dual revolutions going of AI and energy, the ability to have new ideas and the ability to get them done, to make them happen in the physical world where we all live. Like, these are kind of the limiting reagents of prosperity, and let's have a lot more.
Can we talk a little bit about ChatGPT and how that might assist small business owners? And let me paint a little broader picture. We've heard a lot about other tools that are perhaps out of favor, particularly with the U.S. government, that are very helpful for small businesses. But I don't know if small businesses are fully understanding the platform that you have and how they might use it for marketing, for data research, and ways to help their small business be successful.
There were all these moments as ChatGPT was beginning to take off where we would be like, oh, we may have like a hit on our hands. There's like, someone's using it for this, and that's, you know, strangers talking about it. You see someone using it in a coffee shop. But one of the ones that really sticks out for me is pretty quickly after ChatGPT launched, like in the first 6 months, say, I was in an Uber, and the driver was making conversation. He's like, have you heard of this thing called ChatGPT? It's amazing. And I was like, yeah, well, like, what do you think about it? And he was using it to run basically his entire small business. He was like, he ran a laundromat, and he's like, I had all these problems, you know, like couldn't find good people to write my ads, couldn't get like legal documents reviewed, couldn't like answer customer support emails. And he was like a mega early adopter, but he was one of these people that was using AI to like make a small business work. And we talked about that story a lot at the time. But it's nice to reflect on it again now. We've now heard that at scale from a lot of people, but that was one of those moments early on where we're like, oh, this is maybe gonna work.
Can you explain the importance of the National Lab System to maintaining our research edge and discuss any partnerships you've established or are currently pursuing, especially those threatened by massive cuts to the National Labs research?
We partner with the National Labs, so maybe I could take a first cut of this. Also, Senator, I would love to get to visit a Fermilab someday. That would be like
that was my next question.
That would be a real life
welcome.
highlight. That'd be very cool. There's many wonderful things that AI is going to do for the world, but the one that I am personally most excited about is the impact AI will have on scientific discovery. I believe that new scientific discovery is the most important input to the world getting better and people's quality of lives getting better over time. It is hard to overstate where we would be where we are because of scientific advancement and where we would be without it. So we're thrilled to get to partner with the national labs on this. I think science has not been as efficient as it can be, and we're also thrilled to hear from scientists that they're, you know, multiples more effective than they used to be. And I think that AI tools will mean we can accomplish at some point a decade worth of scientific progress in a year for the same cost or even less. This will be one of the most important contributions, in my opinion, that AI makes to the world. And it's no longer theoretical. Like the national labs are a great example. That's the only partnership where we've given a copy of our model weights to another organization. It's a very deep and important partnership to us. And I expect that will really bear fruit.
And I listened to an interview about that you gave with Lester Holt maybe a year or so ago, and you talked in that interview about how OpenAI, it wasn't initially even about making a product. It wasn't about the money. And so I know you are incorporated in Delaware, and I understand you've been working with our Attorney General during the previously proposed legislation to transition to a for-profit, not legislation, but to transition to for-profit. And this Monday, OpenAI decided to apply to become a public benefit corporation instead, and to have the PBC govern your nonprofit arm. What went into this decision, and what considerations influenced the timing of the organizational change?
So we never, thank you for the question, Senator, and the chance to explain this. It's a complicated thing that I think has gotten misrepresented, so this is a wonderful forum to talk about it. We never planned to have the nonprofit convert into anything. The nonprofit was always going to be the nonprofit. And we also planned for a PBC from the very beginning. There were a bunch of other considerations about, is it the PBC board that would control the nonprofit somehow, or how our capital structure was going to work, that there was a lot of speculation on, most of it inaccurate in the press. But our plan has always been to have a robust nonprofit. We hope our nonprofit will be one of the best, maybe someday the best resourced nonprofit in the world, and a PBC with the same mission that would make it possible for us to raise the capital needed to deliver these tools and services at the quality level and availability level that people want to use them at, but still stick to our mission, which we've been proud over the last almost decade of our progress towards. So we had a lot of productive conversations with a lot of stakeholders and a lot of lawyers and a lot of regulators about the best way to do this. It took longer than we thought it was going to. I would have guessed that we would have been talking about this last year, but now we have a proposal that people seem pretty excited about, and we're trying to now advance.